Welcome to the Teen Christian View podcast. My name is Noah Nichols, and alongside me is my co-host Kessler Burlingame. How are you doing today, Kessler?
Pretty good.
All right.
4th episode of the day.
Yep. We got one more coming up.
Yep.
I don't really have much else to say. We had tried to do 10 was our plan, and then we were like,
"There's no way."
Yeah.
So we're like, 5 is a good number.
Yeah. Okay. So we I don't know how late this episode is being posted, to be very honest with you, but we have reached at least 4,200 people, at least 53,000 total plays. Probably way off by the time you're watching or listening to this. But anyway, we do want to thank you and say that we appreciate you guys for listening and following us and subscribing, and we ask that you continue to do those things. Share us with your friends, family, whatever. You know all the links to all our social media platforms, TCV _podcast. We're on TikTok, we're on YouTube, we're on all of those platforms. We have TikToks and YouTube videos that are coming out, obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube. So we're doing some things. We're trying to grow, and we really appreciate it if you can follow and like and subscribe and turn on notifications, leave a review, things like that. I think that's pretty much it for the rest of the intro. Everything you guys need to know. You already know the topic for today because you clicked on the episode. I always thought it was kind of stupid when people would open up an episode and be like, "So the topic," or be like, "So today on the episode, I'm going to be doing this." We're like, "Yeah, I saw because it's the title." But Kessler, you're going to explain, I think, to us what exactly we're going to be going over, right?
So we're going to be talking about the increasingly sexual nature of America, which is kind of a part 2 of something we covered in our last episode.
Was it abortion? It was, yes. So this actually is, numbers, I correct myself, are accurate because this is coming out within 2 weeks of the last episode.
Yeah. So this is kind of part 2. So we're just here to focus on how America has grown in its sexual depravity. That's a big word.
Yes.
We don't really necessarily have subtopics this week. We kind of didn't divide it that well. We have a lot of statistics and other stuff. So just bear with us. We're just going to be doing a lot of talking. So, in America today, it's obviously stuff has been really sexualized. That's why we're talking about it. Like if you look at TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, I mean, it's everywhere. Videos and images of models half clothed, almost naked, shouldn't be something that we see a lot, and that's just generally accepted by the community. But the sad thing is, it's accepted in today's society. Also, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm choked on something.
All right.
I choked on some water. I was trying to hold it in. Go ahead.
Also, in all seriousness, like people you see on TikTok, girls specifically you see on TikTok, Instagram, and all that stuff. How many of them you see have an OnlyFans? If you don't know what an OnlyFans is, good for you. It's terrible. It's a bad thing. It's a more hardcore version of Instagram, more inappropriate images for those of you that don't know.
Yeah.
We're not gonna single out girls. Guys do it too. You're weird if you do.
Yeah.
But we're just saying that that's wrong. It shouldn't be accepted by society, but it is. No, if you
it's more like a symptom. We're not trying to single out girls. I do think it's sad that girls are willing to do that. Well, I'm not going to keep commenting because
they're so in confidence.
Yeah, obviously. I think it's a little messed up when girls do that and then get frustrated with guys when they're objectified. It's like you put yourself out there as an object. So I do think it's wrong and hurtful both to the girl herself and to the people that she's basically putting it out there for everyone.
It's bad, is what we're saying.
But it's a symptom of our culture, the fact that we're willing to accept that, the fact that we even have a website that you can make that on.
Absolutely.
You can just go be a porn creator. It's like, well, you didn't make it on a porn website, so we have a better platform.
It's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
It really is.
It is. But it's easier for more people to upload it and share naked pictures of themselves. So yeah, it's wrong, and it's a sad sign of where we are. Yeah, where we are in the country.
So,
we want to look at some movies and TV shows and cartoons that we kind of want to move in that first week. So we have OnlyFans. We also have TV shows, movies, cartoons. I mean, there has been a rise of sex scenes on mainstream television through
on TV. Like you've always seen it in movies for a long time.
Yeah.
But now that it's in TV
shows, it's even in cartoons and stuff like that. And I saw the
same. It's like implied in cartoons.
Yeah.
And even in kids shows, they like imply that it happened, but they don't actually show it because it's like a kid show. But
I know it's like The Lion King.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where the female, I don't know what her name is, but she gives like a seductive look. I think his name's Jordan Peterson talks about it.
I think I know what scene you're talking about. I don't know who Jordan
They're like
Peterson
wrestling
is.
in the grass.
Yeah. I know what scene you're talking about.
And it's a clearly sexual
Lion
look.
King, dude.
Yeah, it's
you know what, Mickey Mouse? Later. See you.
For those listening on audio, he has a Mickey Mouse coffee cup that he's drinking out of.
Yep.
But I mean, it's a clearly sexual look. And why is that in a kid's show? Why is that there? And I actually saw...
And that's an old movie, too. It's been happening for a while.
There is there's a couple that come to mind. There's one scene in Monsters, Inc. where you see a picture of sex, really, on a picture on the background in the girls' room.
I remember seeing... I saw that on a... I can't remember where I saw that, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. In Ratatouille... He goes by a room when he's running through rafters that's full of nude pictures that it's like barely covered up by, like happenstance, like one beam covers the parts that you're not supposed to see, but it's clearly full of nude pictures. And why is that in a kid's movie? Why is it in there? Mm-hmm. Because they're filling our generation and then our future kids with sin.
And they're like, oh, we're just trying to do something funny for the adults.
Yeah.
We're both almost adults, and one of my favorite movies is Ratatouille. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's so good.
That stuff does not need to be there.
No, it doesn't. Why? For whatever reason, I was watching, like, somebody do a review of, like rating all the good scenes in Ratatouille, and I saw that when he was going through it, and I was like, why is that there? Why is that in the movie? There's no reason for that to be in there. And there's things like that you can see throughout, specifically Disney, because it's like the biggest brand, but throughout a lot of TV shows and cartoons and kids movies. And if you want to talk about more adult movies, I mean, Game of Thrones is widely known for being super.
I totally forgot about that until you said that. I've never watched Game of Thrones. I know my mom likes it. I don't know how that show is terrible, but that movie is just, or TV show is just full of that stuff.
It's full of trash like that. It's absolutely full. I mean, if you're gonna watch Game of Thrones, just why don't go turn on a porn website at that point? If you're willing to, it's basically the same thing. And I'm being 100% serious.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't be watching that. And like HBO, which is the creator of, it's like a Netflix, is the creator of Game of Thrones.
HBO is like a dark. Well, Netflix has already kind of gone down the.
Yeah, but it's like a darker, more adult version.
Basically, there's a ton of adult stuff on HBO.
They pride themselves on being able to have shows like Game of Thrones and have sex scenes and stuff like that on there. And I mean, that's a sad sign of where we are at as a culture, and that's something that we need to fight against, and that's something that we need to not support. If you are subscribed to HBO Max or whatever, don't watch those. Yeah, don't watch those. And you can speak out against them. You don't have to hate against them. You can say, hey, this is wrong. You're indoctrinating our children with sin, with wrong things. My child shouldn't have to see... I mean, they should never see anything like that. They shouldn't see sex scenes in a kid's show when they're like 8 years old. They shouldn't see it at any age.
I think this would be a good time to kind of get into statistics part of this.
This leads directly
But the American Academy of Pediatrics, they looked at 17 different TV shows, which is a small portion.
Super small.
Compared to the amount of TV shows and movies and stuff that are out there. So in total, 323 episodes, 9,214 minutes in total. So every show had at least one risk behavior. Violence was shown in 70% of each. Alcohol, 58%. Sex, 53%. Smoking, 31%. And TV parental guidelines did not discriminate prevalence estimates of TV episode violence.
Yeah, it doesn't do a good job.
Yeah, although TVY7, which is like Nickelodeon, like kid stuff like SpongeBob, show those kind of shows had significantly less substance use. But I mean, even in those kid shows, you can see that kind of stuff all the time. But that stuff is really common in TV 14, TV MA, and stuff like that. And that's where sex and gore is a lot more common. But I mean, this is just crazy to think about. I mean,
over half.
Yeah, over half sex, 53% of episodes,
and
in just 17 shows.
Yeah, and I'm sure that wasn't like we're gonna find all our Game of Thrones look-alike TV shows and use those. I mean, a ton of shows come straight to my mind that are full of scenes like that, and it's
from experience.
No, no. Don't put me on the spot like that.
I don't watch a lot of TV anymore, like TV shows anymore, to be honest with you. So,
well, I'm talking about more like shows that I've looked at and been like, I want to watch this because it looks cool. I mean, Game of Thrones looks cool to me. I like medieval stuff. Stuff.
Dragons?
Like
yeah. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, but no, it's full of disgusting stuff, and I mean, it's an awful sign of where our country is at. And our point with this is to say this is a sign, and this is showing the slope and decline of our country because the sexual immorality is growing. Yeah. And the more that we see, like I think we talked about this in an episode, maybe not, maybe we talked about this at youth group, but there are colleges that literally have sex
Oh, we talked about this at church. Yeah. Sex parties. Why?
For a week.
No.
That doesn't, no, you're not married. No, nobody's married in that. 90% of them aren't married. No, that's not right.
I would say more than 90%.
Yeah, okay, pretty much none of them. For example, this happened by the time you're listening to this, probably last week, the Grammys, I think it was. WAP was performed on stage by Cardi B, who is an idiot, and Megan Thee Stallion, who's also an idiot.
I don't even know who the second one is.
They're two female, very morally ambiguous rappers. They Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely knew who Cardi B is because she is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
But they performed basically they had an actual stripper pole out there.
Did they actually?
Yeah, on stage and performed WAP. And if you listen to the Daily Wire, which I recommend you do, and Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro talked about it, and it was basically a lesbian sex scene almost on stage.
That's pretty much what that entire thing is. Yeah,
it's supposed to be a celebration of music, and that's not at all what it is. And you want your kids to watch something like that? Should you be watching something like that? No, you shouldn't be.
This is the main reason why I don't really watch TV anymore.
Yeah. I'll stick to YouTube or nothing.
I'll just watch Lord of the Rings on a repeat.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just it's sad and it's disgusting, and we need to step up and step out about that. It's horrible. We shouldn't be allowing that. Sex has a place within marriage. It shouldn't be anything outside of that.
Yeah. And
our country is trying to make it anything but that. It's trying to make marriage a burden and just be like we talked about with abortion. Because you have abortion, you don't have to worry about the consequence. Therefore, you can just have sex whenever you want, and then it's trying to take away the consequence. And we're trying to. It's disrupting our nation. And you may be like, and we're gonna move into the other part, other topics, whatever, other subtopics. But you may be like, well, sex is a sin outside of marriage, but what does it actually do? Like, if you don't believe in God or whatever, like, it's still a sin, but what does it do? It creates a spiritual link between the two people. And if you look at people who have had sex with many, many people, you think of like Hugh Hefner, who founded Playboy. You look at people like that, you can tell they're messed up, and you can look at those people and tell that there's just something wrong with them, and that there's something missing, and you give away a piece of your soul to another person when you do that. And I'm not saying that jokingly or lightly or using that as an example. I mean that literally.
Yeah.
And when you talk to people who've had sex with many people and they are messed up, they have a lot of issues, and it is very, very, very serious. Okay. And also, quick disclaimer before we move on. That study that we talked about a couple minutes ago, that study's 3 years old. 3 or 4 years old.
And it's only gotten worse.
Yeah, it's only gotten worse. So those numbers are probably a lot bigger.
I would say it's definitely like sex 3 years ago, 53% And
Maybe
just
60.
it might be up to 60.
Yeah.
I would say. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're gonna take a look at. This isn't necessarily our verses section yet, but we just threw this part right in here real quick. Romans 1:32. It explains the reason behind all the sinning and the increased depravity of our country. So, who, knowing the righteous judgment of God, that those who practice such things are deserving of death, not only do the same, but also approve those who practice them. So, we should be asking ourselves, like, how should we approach this insanity? What do you think are the best ways to disengage from this sexual gluttony? So I think as Christians in this country and really all over the world, because these TV shows are everywhere, except probably North Korea. But, you know.
In Russia.
China. No, seriously. As Christians, we just need to stand up. Like, there's a lot of Christians that watch Game of Thrones and stuff like that, probably, and we just shouldn't be approving of this, and we got to stand up and be like, hey,
this is wrong. We shouldn't support it. And even if you can handle it, because there are some people who can actually watch that sort of thing, and they just not like they don't have a feeling of lust opening up when they say that. I'm not one of those people, but I have met some people who are like that.
Yeah.
The reason that they shouldn't be watching it is because it sets a bad example to others, and because it supports the people who are creating this sinful.
Because 90% of the time, you watch a TV show, you enjoy it. Well, even if you hate it, you're going to tell people about it.
Yeah.
Like, for example,
I mean, you're a viewer, and the more viewers they get, the more they're going to want to make another season, and they're going to increase the amount of disgusting stuff.
Like when Mandalorian came out, I was watching. I loved that show. That show's great.
It is a good show.
And I talked with it to you a lot, Jordan. That just happens. If you like a TV show, dislike it, you're going to talk about it, and that's supporting the people that made it.
Yeah, exactly. And I did want to go over the verse real quick, because I think, Kessler, you didn't cover it. It's okay. Whoopsies. Yeah. But the reason that we picked this verse out, or I picked this verse out because I wrote the script, was because when it talks about who not only do the same, talking about the doing like wrong actions, sinning actions, do the same, but approve those who practice them. That's what our country does. If you look at it, if you look at most politicians, they do wrong things and they approve of those who practice them. And our country is trying to reverse the idea of right and wrong, and we cannot allow that to happen. Satan
do whatever you want if you're happy.
Yeah, that's that. Okay. That's a different topic for another day. But kind of leading into talking about, I mean, we've been talking about how there's so much sexual gluttony in our world, in the United States specifically. C.S. Lewis, who is if you want to read a good book and be greatly influenced by something other than the Bible, go read Mere Christianity. It's one of the best books I've ever read in my life. It's not that long. You will be very much impacted.
Kind of off top, was C.S. Lewis the guy we saw when we went up to the Creation Museum, or was that someone else? I think that was someone else.
That was definitely not C.S. Lewis.
Okay. Yeah, no, my bad. Go ahead.
But he described the sexual appetite of the world in America as something that you would expect to see from someone who is starving. Kind of like how, I think he described it like how you would go to a club to see a striptease. But the problem is, like, he used an example of food and he substituted food for sexual, like a sexual appetite, whatever. If you saw, instead of sex, it was food, you'd be like, man, these people must be starving. It's everywhere. It's on billboards, there's specific websites, thousands and thousands of websites. That's a really good example that I mean, there's tons of websites. You can make your own website. It's all over the place. They try and stuff it in places where it doesn't belong.
Like kid shows about and food. Stuff. Like all about earlier.
Yeah. Then you would assume that everybody must be, just starving or something like that. Mm-hmm. But that's not the case, especially not in our country. And the reason it's not sexual famine, but it's sexual gluttony. And the more someone, there's a really good way to say this, but I think it's like the more a glutton eats, the more he wants, because they're never satisfied.
Yeah.
Like you look somebody who struggles with overeating. I'm joking. I was trying to. I can't remember the. C.S. Lewis put it a really good way, but I mean, you get my point. Kessler, where would you? I mean, where can we see this overindulgence today? I think we went over that.
We just see that everywhere.
Yeah, pretty much everywhere.
I just really like the example C.S. Lewis used. Just replace food, sexual.
You'd be like, what is going on?
Yeah, and it perfectly describes what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really, it does. So
yeah, and we need to stand out and stand against this, and we can do things against that. We can not watch those TV shows. We can make posts on Instagram, Twitter, or whatever about them. We can.
Yeah. Like, you were talking at church a few weeks ago about this movement that was going around like TikTok and Instagram. What was
called cancel porn?
Yes.
Join that movement.
That's good. Yeah. That is a good thing.
Yeah. Join that movement. Make a TikTok about it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to have a lot of followers. You have 0 followers. You can still make one. And
yeah, why not?
I mean, especially on TikTok, it's so easy to get followers. It's so easy to get followers. Okay. Anything else you want to add before we get to Bible verses?
No, not really.
Okay. All right. So, Hebrews 13. Or wait, no.
That's me.
Hebrews.
But it is Hebrews 13:4. Let marriage be held in honor among all, and let the marriage bed be undefiled, for God will judge the sexual, immoral, and adulterous. So that's a good, just that last little part right there. Judge the sexual, immoral, and adulterous. That's a lot of people in our country, and it's sad to think about. And God doesn't like that. He will judge us on that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, as Christians, we need to hold ourselves accountable, and just marriage is a sacred thing, really.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't defile that.
Yeah, absolutely. Trust me when I say this, and I don't say this obviously from experience, but I say this from reading the experiences of others. If you wait until marriage, it will be the best thing, pretty much, besides being saved, to happen. Like, you will be so happy that you waited until marriage.
Yeah. It makes it a lot more of a special thing.
Yeah,
you know?
It makes it more special, and I thought about this way, and maybe this is a little, I don't know if it's graphic, but if I were to, I mean, if you're having sex outside of marriage, you have to worry about, well, do I have a kid? What happens if we break up? What happens if my parents find out? Blah, 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 blah. If you're in marriage, what do you got to worry about? Yeah. It's just something
especially, there's this study I looked at not too long ago, and one of the top 3 ways to be financially successful is not have a kid until you're married. You need, like, if you're married, fine. Yeah, you're good. You got 2 people to support that kid.
Yeah.
Way to go. Good for you. But that's just another thing, just to right away.
But when you wait until marriage, you gain sexual freedom. And we preach sexual freedom in our country, like, go have sex with everybody. That's sexual prison. Sexual freedom is inside of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to remember that, and we need to focus on that, and we need to spread that. Yeah. 1 Thessalonians 4:3-5. It's our last of our 3 verses. For this is the will of God, your sanctification, that you abstain from sexual immorality, that each one of you knows how to control his own body in holiness and honor, not in the passion of lust, like the Gentiles who do not know God. So there's a lot to unpack from this verse, and I'm going to try not to unpack all of it, mostly because I don't know how, because I'm not a pastor, but also due to time constraints. But, I mean, it's the will of God that we abstain from sexual immorality, that we have self-control over our own bodies. I mean, if you were to think about it, the sexual, not uncontrol, like, what's a good word for not being able to control yourself? Just not being able to control yourself?
Yeah, just not being able to control yourself. I can't think of a word for that right now.
I cannot either.
Uncontrollable?
Yeah, something like that. But if you were to look at somebody who had so little self-control of themselves that they literally couldn't stop themselves from having sex, from lusting, and things like that, you would be like, I don't want to be near that person. They have no self-discipline whatsoever. Yeah. We need to have that self-discipline so that we can control our own body in holiness and in honor, not in the passion of lust like the Gentiles. And I want to emphasize this, who do not know God. And this is talking about people who are not Christians, who don't know God, and they are caught up in the passion of their lust. If you know God, why are you acting like this? And I mean, this can be said to many, many Christians. And I'm not gonna I'm gonna be a little, I don't know, straightforward here, whatever. But this can be said to me, and I mean, that's something that can be said to me in my experience. I should be able to control myself. I am a Christian. I know God. I should be able to not be caught up in a passion like that. Okay. Anything else you wanted? Did you want to add something on the verse?
Just going on onto that like when we were talking about waiting till marriage, we should be proud of that fact. In this day and age, we'll probably people will be like, "What? You're crazy. Why would you wait till marriage?" And even I feel like we talked about this briefly like months ago when we did a podcast with TBH.
Okay.
And how we had our videos on it so we could see their faces and stuff.
Mhm.
When you started talking about that, I totally agreed with you 100%. But it seemed like they were shocked in a way. I don't know if you noticed that, but I
Talked
did.
about what specifically?
Waiting till marriage to have sex.
Really? You thought that?
I thought
I
they
didn't
seemed
know-
kind of
I
shocked.
didn't
At least
see that.
one of them did. But I'm just
Okay.
saying, a lot of people may seem shocked, even some Christians.
Mhm.
But it's something that we should be proud of doing, and it'll be worth waiting for.
It's a testament of our faith.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely! I didn't even think about it that way. Yeah. Yeah.
And if you are being persecuted, so to speak, by people who are laughing and making fun of you, it should only confirm and strengthen you because then you know that you're doing something right.
Absolutely.
And then pointing out what you're doing well because it's kind of like when somebody's doing something better than you and you hate them for it or you get angry at them because
Jealousy.
you get jealous of them doing good.
Mm.
Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for today. To summarize, we're just saying the sexual fall of America has coincided with our nation's departure from God.
Absolutely.
If we want to fix the problem, we should, and then the way to do it is to bring people back to Jesus.
Yeah. So stand up, speak out against this stuff because it's a bunch of it's terrible.
And to go with our message, our motto, whatever, we are the future. If we want to change the future, if we want a better future that's not full of sexual passion and lust in America, we got to start now because we are the future. We are the next generation. If we want it to be a good generation, we need to make it a good generation. Yeah. I think that's it for this episode.
That's all I got.
Good way to finish.
We do want to thank you guys for listening and watching. We really do appreciate it. If you haven't yet, go give our other episodes a listen. If you have any questions, thoughts, or ideas, DM us at TCV_podcast or message us in the TCV Discord. We do like receiving your questions. Share us with anyone you can think can benefit from this, friends, family, whoever. We're on most major podcast platforms and now YouTube. We put out one episode a week. We'll be back next week. Peace out.